Good day, hello, and welcome to wherever you are listening to us today. It is Thursday, 1 April 2021. My name is Christian Lindmeier, and I'm welcoming you to today's global COVID-19 press conference with a special focus on the impact of COVID-19, the success of the ACT Accelerator, and the work needed to support equity, including for the health workforce. For this, we welcome two special guests today. First, Dr. Fayrouz, Minister of Health from the Republic of Turkey, who is actively supporting the International Year of Health for Everyone. And Carl Bildt, former Prime Minister of Sweden and recently named WHO Special Envoy of the ACT Accelerator. Simultaneous translation is provided in 6 official languages: Arabic, Chinese, French, English, Spanish, and Russian, as well as Portuguese and Hindi. When we get to hear from we will have Turkish and English language. Now let me introduce the panel in the room. President Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, WHO Director General. Dr. Meg Ryan, Executive Director of the Emergencies Program of WHO. Dr. Maria van Kerkhove, Technical Lead in COVID-19. Dr. Mariangela Simão, Assistant Director General, Access to Medicine. Dr. Bruce Aylward, Special Advisor to the Director General and the Lead Access. Dr. Kate O'Brien, the Director for Immunization, Vaccines, and Biologicals, and last but not least, Dr. Jim Campbell, the Director for Health Workforce. With this, I will hand over to the Director General for the opening remarks to our guests. Dr. General O'Brien,
Thank you, Christian. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This week, more than 25 leaders from the G20, G7, and from every region united behind the idea of a pandemic treaty. There is an acknowledgement and humility from those leaders that collectively the world was not prepared for the first coronavirus. Of the European Council, Charles Michel and I spoke about. I'm pleased that more leaders are now joining the call for a pandemic treaty, which would be a generational commitment to keeping the world safe. There will always be new pathogens with pandemic potential. It's not a matter of if, but when. One key aspect that could be enshrined in the treaty is to a stronger health workforce, which is the very essence of health systems' resilience. An effective health workforce is a key element to improving our health systems. Health and care workers are at the forefront of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and they play the critical role in protecting us all. Far too many health and care workers have died in the pandemic. Millions have been infected, and the pandemic has taken a huge toll on their physical and mental health, with devastating effects on their families and communities. Anxiety, depression, insomnia, the stress have all increased. Exhaustion is commonplace, and there have been cases of stigma and even abuse. I give thanks to those that have stood up in one of humanity's toughest periods. This is the year of the health and care worker, and we know that even before the pandemic, there was a shortfall of at least 18 million health workers. And we work to end the pandemic and recover together. Health and care workers must come first. We must ensure that they're trained, protected, and supported to do their job safely and effectively. As recognized in last week's UN Financing for Sustainable Development report, A true recovery from the pandemic requires additional investment in health and in people. These two priorities can be achieved if we invest in the health workforce. Investing in the health workforce is an investment in women and youth. Almost 70% of the global health workforce are women. In particularly, we must support countries with fewer resources to expand their workforce capacity and pay decent salaries. And we must ensure that they are at the front of the line for COVID-19 vaccines. I would now like to turn to Health Minister of Turkey, Dr. Fahrettin Koca. Turkey has been a strong champion of 2021 being the year of the health and care workforce. Dr. Koca, the floor is yours.
Sayın Genel Direktör, Sayın Başbakan, değerli katılımcılar, bir yılı aşkın süredir hayatımızda olan COVID-19 son 100 yıl içinde tüm dünyanın aynı anda mücadele ettiği en büyük salgındır. Bu hastalık sadece sağlığa yönelik bir tehdit olmayıp hayatın tüm alanlarına etki etmiştir. Salgının ilk günlerinden itibaren bütün ülkeler sağlık sistemlerinin kapasitesi başta olmak üzere imkanlarının el verdiği ölçüde mücadeleye devam etmektedir. Mücadele şekillerinde bazı farklılıklar olsa da tüm dünya kolektif olarak sağlık çalışanlarının hayatlarımızdaki önemi konusunda güçlü bir düşünce sahibi olmuştur. Bu düşünce o kadar güçlüdür ki sağlık çalışanlarına karşı yeni bir etiğin doğuşuna yol açmaya başladı.
Distinguished Director General, Mr. Prime Minister, and distinguished participants, COVID-19, which has been a part of our lives for over a year, is the biggest pandemic that the entire world has fought against within the past 100 years. This disease has not only been a health threat, but it has also affected our lives in many ways. Since day one of the pandemic, each and every country has been putting a fight against it within the bounds of their healthcare capacities. Although the methods adopted by countries varied, the whole world has become more aware of an idea about the importance of healthcare workers in our lives. This powerful idea has led to the birth of a new set of ethics for healthcare workers.
Fikrimi açmak için ifadesini milattan önce 4. yüzyılda Hipokrat'ta bulan ünlü ilkeye atıfta bulunacağım. Bu ilke primum non nocere ilkesidir. Ülkemde ve başka ülkelerde insanlar şuna tanık oldu. Ana prensibi hastaya vermemek sağlık çalışanları bu salgında kendilerine zarar gelmesi ihtimalini göğüslediler. Sağlık hizmeti alanlar tarafında gelişmeye başladığını fark ettiğimiz yeni etiğin temeli bu tanıklıktır. Bu tanıklık sağlık hizmeti mensuplarının toplumlardaki manevi statüsünü yüceltmiştir. İnsanların kitlesel olarak korku içinde güven arayışında olduğu bu dönemin kahramanları sağlık çalışanlarıdır. Ortaya çıkmakta olan yeni etiğin arka planında bir faktör daha var. Bu faktörü şöyle tanımlayabiliriz. Sağlık hizmeti salgın öncesine dek birey ile sağlık çalışanı arasında bir hizmetti. Salgınla bu ilişki toplumla sağlık çalışanları arasında çok geniş, kuşatıcı bir ilişkiye dönüşmüştür. Bu görüşler doğrultusunda toplumların sağlık çalışanlarını daha üstün bir konuma yerleştirmek için istekli olduğunu belirtmek gerekiyor. Karar vericilerin sağlık çalışanları için yapacakları toplumların talebi olan şeylerdir.
To elaborate, I would like to refer to a principle from the 4th century BC from the Hippocratic Oath, which reads primum non nocere. In Turkey and in other countries, people have witnessed one thing: healthcare workers, whose main principle is not to harm the patient, embrace the possibility that they can be harmed themselves. It is this testimony that is the foundation of the new set of ethics that is beginning to develop. And this is the very testimony that has improved the status of healthcare workers in societies. The heroes of these times, when people seek trust in fear, are healthcare workers. There is another factor in the background for this newly emerging ethics. Before the pandemic, healthcare was between the individual and the healthcare worker. However, with the pandemic, this relationship morphed into a broader and more encompassing one. In line with all of this, we are aware of the fact that societies are willing to take healthcare workers to a higher position. What decision makers will do for healthcare professionals is what societies demand.
Değerli katılımcılar, Türkiye'nin salgına karşı verdiği mücadele hem yurttaşlarımız hem de dünya tarafından iyi bilinmektedir. Sürece şekil veren gücü, içinde yetkin, özverili, dahası kendini bu yıkıcı hastalığın önünü kesmeye adamış insanlardan almaktayız. Büyük tecrübelerle bilinmektedir ki sağlık çalışanları mesleklerinin doğası gereği gözlerini karartarak en ön safa atılır. Onlar bu görevi ifade ederken toplumun geri kalanına ve karar vericilere önemli sorumluluklar düşmektedir. Bu bilinçle hareket edip gerekli politikaları oluşturabilen toplumlar sağlık çalışanlarının motivasyonunun yükseltilmesi ve üzerlerindeki yükün azaltılması noktasında en yüksek desteği verebilecektir.
Distinguished participants, Turkey's response to the pandemic is well known both to our people and the world. And we have been taking strength from our well-trained, equipped, dedicated, and selfless healthcare workforce. We all know that when the need arises, healthcare workers rush to the fronts by the very nature of their profession. This pandemic has been the proof for this. While they perform their work, various roles and duties fall upon the rest of the society and of the decision makers. Societies that can adopt necessary policies, bearing in mind this responsibility, will be able to offer great support to boost the morale and motivation of healthcare workers and to relieve their burden.
Koruyucu ekipman tedariki, yeni bilimsel gelişmeler konusunda eş zamanlı bilgilendirme, sosyal ve ekonomik destek sağlanması gibi konular bizim çalışmalarımızdaki başlıkların da sadece bir kısmı oldu. Yeni istihdamlarla mevcut sağlık çalışanlarımızın yükünün hafifletilmesi ise öncelikli uygulamalarımız arasında yer aldı. Bir diğer önceliğimiz ise görev ve sorumlulukların yeniden tanımlanıp paylaştırılması, acil olmayan iş yüklerinin zamana yayılması gibi önlemlerin alınmasıdır. Bunların hiçbiri gösterilen fedakarlıkların karşılığı değildir. Emeklerin pratik karşılıkların verilebilmesi yanında yine bu emeklerin zamana mühür vuracak şekilde karşılık bulması da gerekmektedir. Toplumlar böyle onurlandırmaları artık ödev biliyor. 2021 yılının Uluslararası Sağlık Çalışanları Yılı ilan edilmesi fikrinin başından beri güçlü bir savunucusu olmamızın nedeni de budur.
As a demonstration of this understanding, we have introduced and implemented timely and effective policies in a variety of issues, such as supplying high-quality and sufficient protective equipment, offering timely and science-based information about current developments, and providing socioeconomic and moral support. Alleviating the burden of healthcare workers by employing new people has been a priority for us. Another priority has been to take measures to improve the productivity of healthcare workers, such as redefining and redistributing roles and responsibilities and delaying non-urgent procedures. Of course, none of these steps can make up for the selfless efforts of our healthcare workers. Their selfless efforts should definitely go down in history. Societies are aware of the need to honor such work. This is the very motivation behind the idea of declaring 2021 the International Year of Health and Care Workers, for which we have been a strong advocate since day one.
Kıymetli katılımcılar, değerli Genel Direktör geçtiğimiz günlerde önemli bir paylaşımda bulundu. Sağlık çalışanlarının dünyayı kurtardığını, şimdi dünyanın görevinin sağlık çalışanlarını korumak olduğunu belirtti. Tüm dünyadaki sağlık çalışanlarının çok kısa sürede COVID-19 aşısına erişmesi gerektiğinin altını önemli çizdi. Bu çağrıya bütün kalbimle katılıyorum. Aynı anlayışla Türkiye olarak yaklaşık 1.100.000 sağlık çalışanımızın aşılanmasını 45 gün gibi kısa bir süre içerisinde tamamlamış bulunmaktayız. Her ne kadar şu anda aşı üreten ülkeler arasında yer almasak da, temin ettiğimiz aşıların bir kısmını sağlık çalışanları için kullanılmak üzere farklı ülkelerle paylaştığımızı da eklemek isterim. Tüm sağlık çalışanları tüm insanlık için çalışıyor.
Esteemed participants, Mr. Director General has posted about a very important issue recently, noting that healthcare workers had saved the world and it was now the world's responsibility to protect them. He underlined that health and care workers around the world should have access to a COVID-19 vaccine as soon as possible. I support this call wholeheartedly. With this understanding, I have to note that we have completed vaccinating 1 million healthcare workers in our country in only 45 days. Even though we have yet to produce our own vaccine, I would like to note that we have shared a portion of the vaccines we have supplied with other countries to be delivered to healthcare workers.
Bizlere düşen bir başka görev, aşıya sağlık çalışanlarının erişiminin güçlü bir savunuculuğunu yapmaktır. Türkiye olarak aşı üreticisi ülkeler ile erişim sorunu yaşayan ülkeler arasında diplomatik köprüler kurarak kolaylaştırıcı rolü üstlendiğimizi belirtmek isterim. Bu girişimlerden sonuç almaya başladığımızı memnuniyetle ifade etmeliyim. Sayın Genel Direktör, şunu da vurgulamak isterim ki, Türkiye'nin yerli aşı üretim çalışmaları çok hızlı bir şekilde devam etmektedir. Kısa zamanda kendi aşımızı üreteceğimize inanıyoruz. Emin olunuz ki aşı üreticisi ülkelere tarafınızdan yapılan çağrı bu gelişmeyle birlikte Türkiye'de karşılığını bulacaktır.
We have another responsibility, which is to ardently advocate for the access of healthcare workers to vaccines. As Turkey, we have taken on a facilitating role by building diplomatic bridges between vaccine-producing countries and those having problems accessing them. I am glad to say that we have achieved concrete results out of these initiatives. Distinguished Director General, I would like to also highlight that our own vaccine production efforts are still ongoing at full speed. We believe that we will soon be producing our own vaccine. And when that happens, rest assured that your call upon vaccine-producing countries will be met with a clear response in Turkey.
Değerli katılımcılar, 2021'in bir günü değil, 2021 yılı sağlık çalışanlarına adanmıştır. Yıl boyunca bu kapsamda birçok etkinlik gerçekleştirilecek, Türkiye olarak sürece en aktif katkıyı verme kararlılığındayız. Birleşmiş Milletler başta olmak üzere uluslararası platformlarda fikir, proje ve etkinliklerle sürecin savunucusu ve bir yürütücüsü olmaya devam edeceğiz. Türkiye ile birlikte dünya toplumlarının ödev ve minnet duygularını harekete geçireceğiz. Sağlık çalışanlarının saygınlığını, mesleklerinin manevi statüsünü, insanlık vicdanında etik sorumluluk gereği daha da yüceltmeye çalışacağız. Ortak kahramanlık destanı dünyanın en büyük kentlerinden en ücra köşelerine her yerde ve yüzlerce farklı dilde bu destanın insanlığın ortak dilinde kalbin sesiyle yazılmaya ihtiyacı var. Salgına karşı verilen savaşta üniformalar içinde veriliyor. Bu üniformalar en büyük sevgiyi uyandıran üniformalardır. İnsan ırkı bu üniformaların rengidir. İçinde bulunduğumuz zaman dilimi, tarihi şimdi yazılması, anıtları daha sürerken dikilmesi gereken bir zamandır.
Distinguished participants, not only one single day, but the whole year of 2021 has been dedicated to health and care workers. Many activities will be held on this occasion throughout the year. We are committed to making the most active contribution to these events. We will continue to advocate for the process through ideas, projects, and events on international platforms, especially of the platforms of the United Nations. Together, we will mobilize the sense of duty and gratitude of the whole world. We will try to further improve the status of healthcare workers, the status of their professions, as required by our ethical responsibilities. Stories of heroism are being told from large cities to the most remote corners of the world in hundreds of different languages. These stories are now needed to be told in the common language of humanity. The battle against the pandemic is also fought in uniforms. These uniforms bring out compassion in people. And right now is the time when we should write down history.
Bu amaçla sadece bir başlangıç olarak DSÖ ile birlikte sağlık çalışanlarına adanmış anıt görevi de görecek dijital bir platform kurma hazırlığındayız. Değerli dostum Tedros, bu platformda sizin de şahsi desteklerinizi bekliyorum. Konuşmamı bitirirken tüm dünyadaki değerli sağlık çalışanlarına şu mesajı vermek isterim. Sizler tüm insanlığın aynı anda, aynı sebeple şükran duyduğu insanlarsınız. İnsanlık bu duygusunu ifade etmenin en güzel yolunu bulacaktır. Hepinize saygılarımı sunuyorum.
For this purpose, as a first step, we are working on creating a digital platform with WHO to serve as a memorial dedicated to health and care workers. Tedros, my dear friend, I expect your personal support to this platform. And as I conclude, I would like to give the following message to all healthcare workers around the world. The whole humanity is grateful to you right now. And the humanity will find the best way to express this gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Your Excellency, Dr. Koja. I'm glad that vaccines are rolling out to health workers in this difficult period in the pandemic, and look forward to working with you closely. Thank you so much. Tashakkur. The clock is still ticking on vaccine equity. We have 9 days left until we reach the 100th day of the year, and the target of starting vaccine rollout to health workers and those at risk in all countries remains in our grasp. COVAX has already delivered 35 million doses to more than 78 countries. But there is still a serious challenge on vaccine equity and availability. Last week, I made an urgent request to countries with doses of vaccines that have to WHO emergency use listing to share 10 million doses immediately with COVAX. The extra 10 million doses would be an urgent stopgap measure so that 20 countries which are ready but haven't got the supply needed to start vaccinating their health workers and older people could begin before the 100th day, 10 April. I also requested manufacturers to help ensure that the countries that step up can rapidly donate those doses. This challenge has been heard, but we're yet to receive commitments for these doses. I'm still hopeful that some forward-looking and enlightened leaders will step up. I know this is a challenging time for many countries as cases and hospitalizations are spiking. But conversely, it's when cases are spiking that it's the most important time to share vaccines equitably and protect health workers and at-risk communities. The race is on to get vaccines to those places and groups where they can have the greatest impact. We're not in a race against each other. We are in a race against the virus, and over the last year, the ACT Accelerator has been critical for ensuring that new vaccines, life-saving oxygen, corticosteroids for severe diseases, and rapid tests are being shared more equitably. Today, I'm happy to welcome former Prime Minister of Sweden, Carl Bildt, who I appointed as WHO Special Envoy to the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator. Carl will help lead the collective advocacy for the ACT Accelerator, mobilizing support and critical resources so it can deliver against its strategy for 2021. My friend Carl, the floor is yours. Tack så mycket for joining us.
Thank you, Director General. And I have to start by saying that I'm honored and I'm humbled by the fact that you have appointed me Special Envoy now to start working with the ACT Accelerator. I am thoroughly impressed with what has been achieved in an absolutely unique situation where we have a global challenge of a magnitude that we haven't seen in living memory anyhow, if we look at how things are. And I think ACT Accelerator has been a critical instrument in mobilizing resources and in coordinating the activities of a very diverse set of actors. And without that coordination mechanism, I doubt that what has been achieved would have been possible to achieve. Then, of course, we are all in a situation where we would have liked everything to be done by now in terms of vaccines and therapeutics and treatments and whatever. But we are in a phase where efforts are in a phase of acceleration all over the world, and where I'm convinced that everyone is doing their very best to make this as fast and as secure and as safe as is possible. I hope that I can make my contribution to this work as well. I'm certainly not a medical expert. No one expects me to have any firm views on that, but I have a fair amount of experience in working in politics and working in the international community, trying to get the different parts of that wide community to work towards the same goal. And I think that is, of course, more important now than perhaps on any other of the global challenges that we have been seeing during the last few decades. Lots on the agenda: mobilizing resources, distributing vaccines, as the Director General mentioned, COVAX, the ramping up of production and all of that, but also mobilizing resources. We still have a funding gap with the accelerated different efforts in the order of $22 billion. That's a fair amount of money, but it's if you compare it with the money that the governments are spending, rightly so, in order to sustain their economies, I mean, it's less than 1% of that money. And we know, of course, that if we don't get the pandemic under control, that money is not going to be enough. So I hope it will be possible to mobilize that money. It's an effort with the co-chairs of the Facilitation Council, Norway and South Africa being very active, but I hope I can make my contribution to that as well. I leave it, Director General, with that, much ahead. I look forward to it. It's a task that is, mildly speaking, urgent, and all efforts by everyone is welcome.
Thank you so much indeed. And thank you for your inspiring words, and look forward to working with you very closely. And I couldn't agree more and believe that with your support, we can take the ACT accelerator to the next level, overcome vaccine nationalism so that we defeat this pandemic and recover together. Tack så mycket again. Christian, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros. Let me now open the floor to questions from the media. We have a long list already, and therefore I ask you to only ask one question at a time. We'll start with Bayram Altuk from Anadolu News Agency. Bayram, in case you want to ask in Turkish, I would ask you to please also immediately afterwards ask your question in English to make it easier for us here. Thank you very much. Bayram, please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for taking my question. I will ask my question in English. My question for Minister of Health, Republic of Turkey. Mr. Koca, Director General Dr. Tedros has spoken many times of the importance of having solidarity across the world in using resources to fight the COVID pandemic. How do you assess Turkey's contribution to this process, and what has its contribution been to the world? Also, Turkey is a leading country giving priority to vaccinating health workers. So can you comment on where Turkey is regarding the production of vaccines and supply of vaccines? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Dr. Koca, please. Your Excellency, Dr. Koca, could I ask you to reply?
Aynı zamanda Türkiye'de sağlık çalışanlarının aşılanması konusunda sağlık çalışanlarına öncelik veren ülkelerden bir tanesi. Bu anlamda da aşı üretimi ve aşı tedariki konusunda Türkiye şu an ne durumda? Bununla ilgili bilgi verebilir misiniz?
Teşekkür ediyorum. Genel Direktör Sayın Tedros'un pandeminin başından beri özellikle dayanışma ve uluslararası işbirliğine dikkat çekmişlerdi. Ülkemiz bu süreçte 158 ülkeye koruyucu ekipman, tanı kiti, solunum cihazı yani ventilatör dahil olmak üzere yardımda bulundu. Bunun dışında bu süreçte ayrıca 14 DSÖ dahil olmak üzere 14 uluslararası kuruluş ile de işbirliği içinde bulunduk. Ben bizzat bu süreçte 20 ülkenin Sağlık Bakanı'yla birebir görüşme içinde oldum. Ayrıca bizim COVID-19 Bilim Kurulu da bu süreçte 13 ülkeye tecrübelerini paylaşımda bulundu. Bunun dışında özellikle COVID-19 aşılarıyla ilgili bizim şu an Dünya Sağlık Örgütü tarafından kaydı tutulan aşılar listesinde 18 aşımız var. Ve bir tanesi faz 2 safhasında olan, zannediyorum bir ay sonra faz 3 safhasına geçmesini ümit ettiğimiz bir aşımız, inaktif aşı. Ayrıca 4 tane aşımızın da faz 1 çalışması başlamış oldu. Zannediyorum önümüzdeki Ağustos, Eylül gibi yaz dönemi ilk aşımızın biteceğini, başarıyla sonuçlanacağına inanıyorum. Ve bu süreçte özellikle Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımızın net bir talimatı oldu, açıklaması oldu bildiğiniz gibi. Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımız dünya genelinde 100'e yakın ülkenin aşıya henüz ulaşamadığını ve yerli aşımızın devreye girmesiyle birlikte en uygun şartlarda tüm insanlığın kullanımına sunulacağını da ilan ettiler. Bu çerçevede özellikle aşı geliştirme ve üretimiyle ilgili hem de farklı teknolojilerle sadece inaktif aşı değil, mRNA aşısı, protein kaynaklı olmak üzere virüs parçacık temelli aşı dahil olmak üzere ayrıca nazal aşı teknolojisi de faz 1 çalışmasına, aşamasına zannediyorum 2-3 hafta içerisinde geçmiş olacak. Yani önümüzde 4-5 ay sonra ilk etapta birkaç aşımızın devreye girebileceğini ve insanlığın kullanımına da Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımızın ifadesiyle geçirebileceğimizi ifade etmek istiyorum. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you for the question. Yes, as you have mentioned, Mr. Director General has stressed many times since the start of the pandemic about the importance of solidarity and international cooperation. So in that regard, I would like to say that Turkey has supported 158 countries with personal protective equipment, diagnostic kits, and ventilators. Also, we have cooperated very closely with 14 international organizations, including the WHO. And I myself personally held meetings with the ministers of health of 20 countries throughout this period. And also, we have a COVID-19 scientific board here in Turkey, and they have shared their experiences with experts of 13 countries. So, in terms of your question about the vaccine, we have 18 vaccines right now that are in WHO's list. And one of these vaccines is in phase 2 right now, and we will proceed to phase 3 in about a month. This is an inactive vaccine, by the way. And also we have 4 vaccines that are currently in phase 1. And we believe that by August or September, we will have the first vaccine complete and ready. And our president has also sent a clear message. He said that more than 1,000 countries have yet to have access to a COVID-19 vaccine. That's why he said that when Turkey is able to produce its own vaccine, that vaccine will definitely be offered for the use of the whole humanity. So right now, 100 countries do not have access to a COVID-19 vaccine, which is why the vaccine to be produced in Turkey will be offered for the whole humanity. And by the way, we will also work on not only the inactive vaccine, also mRNA vaccines, virus particulate-based vaccines, and also we are working on an intranasal vaccine, which will be in phase 2 in 2 to 3 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Let me move to the next question from Gunilla von Hall, Svenska Dagbladet. Gunilla, please unmute yourself.
Yes, can you hear me?
Very well, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for taking my question. It is to Carl Bildt, and it is about access to vaccines. WHO is urging governments to share excess vaccine doses with low-income countries in need once their own risk groups have been vaccinated. How do you think this could be perceived as reasonable and motivated in countries like Sweden and others that have waited for a long time to get vaccines at all, and where many people below 65 are waiting to be vaccinated? And if I may just squeeze in one short question to how are you going to convince countries to contribute more to the ACT accelerator? Thanks.
Mr. Bildt, can I invite you?
Yes. Two questions. I mean, certainly first the money. As I said, I mean, it's a huge amount of money. But if you compare it with the money that is now spent on sustaining economic recovery, it's really a very limited amount. It's less than 1% of the stimulus money that is available, be that in the US or EU, to take those two big ones. And of course, most of this money, although we would like everyone to contribute, most of the money will have to come from the major rich countries. So lots of money, but if you compare it with the other money that we are forced to spend, as a matter of fact, as a result of the pandemic, not very much. Second question, I don't need to tell that to you. I've been in politics for some time, and I can see the pressures that every political leader, every prime minister, every health minister is under pressure in every country, because everyone wants to have the vaccine and wants to have the vaccine yesterday. But I think it's very important also that they all are ready to take the broader perspective, that they really understand that no one is really safe until everyone is safe. And we have a self-interest, be that in Sweden or the United States or India or Portugal or South Korea, that the pandemic is brought under control. Because the risk is, as we know, that otherwise we might get new mutation, new variations that might even sort of undo what we have already done. And if I look at the figures, of course, the EU has been exporting quite a lot during the past few months, which I think has been positive if I take it only from the Swedish EU perspective that you asked about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bildt. We'll now move to the next, and that's Nina Larsen from AFP. Nina, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay, great, thanks. So thank you for taking my question. I have a question for Dr. Tedros. In your briefing to member states about the Origins report earlier this week, you said it was a very important beginning, but not the end. Has it been agreed that the next phase in this process also must involve investigations in China? And when do you think this phase 2 could get underway? Have you had talks with Beijing about a fresh international expert mission to the country? Thank you.
Dr. Tedros, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that question. Of course, there are many recommendations made by the team from the report. I hope you have read the report. So there will be follow-up assessments. So that's what we expect. But we haven't yet discussed because the report was just released last Tuesday, and we will start engagements as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director General. Now we move to Sara Teofilo from Correio Brasiliense. Sara, please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. In Brazil, we're seeing our worst moment in the pandemic. Yesterday, we had more than 3.8 thousand people killed by COVID, which was a record. States and cities have implemented some restrictive measures in recent weeks, which are widely criticized by our president, but many have already backed down. And as you all know, we are the second country in total number of victims of COVID. Knowing that we have a slow pace of vaccinations because we don't have enough vaccines, what results should we expect if aggressive measures are not taken? Are we going to have more people killed by COVID than the US? And how international organizations and governments could help Brazil with vaccines and medicines? Thank you.
Dr. van Kerkhoff, please.
Yeah, so I will start, and I'm sure others will come in. There was a very important live Q&A that occurred earlier this week with Dr. Mariangela Simão and others in Portuguese, so I do encourage you to look at that if you haven't had a chance to talk about the situation. Indeed, there is a very serious situation going on in Brazil right now, where we have a number of states that are in critical condition. I understand that the Brazilian Ministry of Health has stated that 6 states are in critical condition, and nationwide the hospitals are overwhelmed, with most ICUs at over 90% capacity. And we're aware of a recent survey that was carried out by the National Council of Health Secretaries, finding that more than 6,000 people were waiting for an ICU bed, 6,000 people with COVID-19 waiting for an ICU bed. So indeed, there is a critical situation there. The challenges are many in terms of increased transmissibility with this P1 variant that has been detected that is circulating in the country. If you have increased transmission or a more transmissible virus, you'll have more cases, which can overwhelm a health system that is already overwhelmed. Our regional office in Pajo, with our country office, are working with the states, working with the country to make sure that they have the right provisions in place to be able to care for patients, to get oxygen in, to provide the support that is necessary. But indeed, it is a critical situation. We do know that with this P1 variant, that it is predominant in about 13 states. I think it's 13 states as of right now. And we do see that hospitalizations in ICU are increasing across all age groups, including younger age groups between 20 and 60 years old, requiring hospitalization and also ICU. And so there's a lot underway. I do know that vaccine and vaccination is increasing, so someone else may want to comment on the proportion of the population that is receiving vaccination, because I don't have those latest numbers there. I'll pass to Mariangela, but it is important that the measures that are in place include vaccination. We still need to make sure that the public health and social measures, the distancing, the mask wearing, the hand hygiene, and making sure when you do wear a mask, that you wear a mask with clean hands, that you touch the mask, you put it on, you take it off, you wash it, you dispose of it if it's a single-use mask appropriately, that you avoid crowded spaces, you limit the number of contacts that you have, try to just mix with the individuals just within your household. All of those measures I know are incredibly difficult to still adhere to 16 months into a pandemic when everybody is exhausted, but those measures are still in place in addition to vaccination. So Mariangela, maybe you want to comment on the vaccination.
Thank you. I'm going to speak in Portuguese. Muito obrigada.
Thank you very much for the question, Sarah. And of course, the WHO is very concerned with what is going on in Brazil. On the one hand, local production of vaccines is very important right now in Brazil. Despite the fact that Brazil is receiving vaccines through the COVAX facility, in fact, Brazil can actually create its own vaccines, produce them via Butantan and Fiocruz. And this is essential right now, considering the pressure that is being put on supplies of vaccine. I wanted to just support what was said by Dr. Maria van Kerkhoff. We need to not just be placing all our bets on the availability of vaccines. Even where there is greater vaccine coverage, it is also very important that the authorities say that it is necessary to still stick to prevention measures such as avoiding crowded spaces, using masks, hand washing. So that means that it is very important that we do not fall into a false sense of security regarding the quantity of vaccines. I think right now there are healthcare professionals and those over the age of 68 have now started being vaccinated. Nonetheless, it is right now when there is high transmission that we need to continue to be very vigilant, especially in urban centres. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both. Let me move to Mariela Škurta from Suri TV, Albania. Mariela, please unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, I want to start by saying thank you for always being so professional and answering to all of our concerns. Now, I know this might sound a bit bizarre, but on the 25th of April, Albania will be going into the parliamentary elections, and our Prime Minister, Edi Rama, has often stated that if the opposition wins the election, the Albanian citizens will no longer have access to vaccine. Now, like I said, it sounds bizarre, but the general public might be concerned about this statement being true. So my question is the statement true or false? Will or will not the Albanian citizens have access to vaccines in case the opposition wins the election? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mariela. I don't think we can give a political answer here, but I could ask Dr. Elwood if there's anything about vaccine supply in general for COVAX.
Thank you, Christian. And the question just reinforces the importance of ensuring all peoples everywhere have access to vaccination, especially healthcare workers, as we heard from His Excellency, the Minister from Turkey, and others today, the Director General, and then, of course, the older populations, and then onward through the high-risk populations. And the goal of the COVAX facility, of which Albania and other countries are members, is to ensure that all countries and all populations have access. That is the key to getting out of this, irrespective of the situation or circumstances of an individual country or economy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Elwood. And we move to Catherine Fioncon, France 24. Catherine, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Christian. Good afternoon to all of you. I have a question about treatments. At the beginning of the pandemic, we spoke a lot about treatments and vaccines, but during the conferences, we don't talk a lot about treatments, and I would like to know more about that, particularly about preventive nasal treatments. There are some products that have been manufactured by Israel and Canada. What is your opinion about that? Is it useful? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Have Dr. van Kerkhove start.
I can give a general answer to that. And in fact, Mike and I did a live yesterday where we were asked quite a lot about treatments, because there is much more work that needs to be done on treatment for COVID-19. We do have the dexamethasone for patients who are severe and critical. This saves lives, and we know that there are other measures that can be put in place that saves lives. This is, first of all, is prevention. Secondly, if people are ill, that they enter the clinical care pathway early so that they receive the appropriate care depending on the severity of their illness, that they have their oxygen saturation checked, that they receive oxygen. Oxygen saves lives. And WHO with partners has been working around the world to ensure that oxygen reaches countries around the world so that patients can receive this life-saving care. There are a number of therapeutics that are in development, looking at early stage treatment. More work needs to be done in this area. There's no question about that. Our clinical teams are evaluating the studies that are coming out through these clinical trials, and as the data comes out, they will be able to make recommendations as the data allow. in terms of enough numbers and results so that they can activate the system to start to pool together the data from all of the clinical trials so that we have enough cases to be able to assess their efficacy. And so that is something that is underway.
And Dr. Aylward, please add.
Thank you, Christian. And further to the point that was just made by Maria, the question is so valuable because the reality is we don't talk enough about treatments and what can be done for people suffering with COVID, and particularly severe COVID-19. Because as Maria highlighted, dexamethasone is now available, saves lives, combined with oxygen can have a tremendous impact. And these simple interventions, we're learning more and more, are not available in enough places to be able to ensure the maximum impact. So as we talked a couple of weeks ago with the launch of the new strategy for the ACT Accelerator for 2021, a huge part of the emphasis will be on not only ensuring that vaccines are getting out there and getting to all populations, but that we're also getting the rapid diagnostic tests out there to guide treatments, and of course we're getting the oxygen and the dexamethasone. So just to thank you for the question, because the reality is we do not talk enough about some very simple, relatively inexpensive and certainly affordable interventions that could make a huge difference for people suffering severe disease.
Thank you very much, both. With this, we've come to the end of our question and answer session. I would like to invite our special guests to give their closing remarks, and of course would like to start with His Excellency Dr. Fahrettin Koca, Minister of Health of the Republic of Turkey. The floor is yours, sir.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Özellikle aşıya erişim noktasında dünya büyük bir sorun yaşıyor. Aşıların fikri mülkiyet haklarının olmadan bütün dünyada her ülkede üretilebilirliğinin önünü aşmanın çok faydalı olacağı kanaatindeyim. Bu konuyla ilgili daha somut girişimlerin yapılması gerektiği kanaatindeyim. Hepinize çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you very much. I believe that in terms of access to vaccines, the world is faced with a very difficult condition and an obstacle. So I think we should be able to produce vaccines everywhere, all over the world, without intellectual property rights being a problem. So that's why I think we need to be taking concrete steps about this issue. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for these remarks, and I'll ask Mr. Carl Bildt, former Prime Minister of Sweden and now our WHO Special Envoy for the ACT Accelerator, for his comments.
Yeah, I could only say, related to the question that was coming in from Albania related to the election campaign that is underway there, that I think we all recognize that this is a race, humanity versus the virus. We live in a world where there are a lot of political tensions between different countries, and certainly within countries between different political parties, be that elections or not. But this is a time when these things should be put aside. And the fight against COVID should be sort of above all of this, and should not be used for political purposes, be that political purpose of an external nature, foreign policy, or be that of a domestic nature, the one way or the other. This is all of us, humanity versus the virus, and it's important that it's seen in that context.
Thank you so much, Carl Bildt, for these words. Before I hand to Dr. Tedros for the final remarks, thank you all for your participation. We will be sending the audio file and the remarks of our special guest, Dr. Tedros, right after the press conference. The full transcript will be posted on the WHO website tomorrow morning. For any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact the media inquiries at who.int. With this, Dr. Tedros, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I fully agree with what former Prime Minister Carl Bildt said. On this virus, the most important weapon is national unity and global solidarity. And we have been saying this for a long time. And I fully agree with him that this fight is humanity against the virus, directly, of course, quoting him. So any country should actually unite around the fight against this virus. Any divisions or cracks between us will only give opportunity to the virus. Then to what Minister said, I fully agree. Local production is very, very important, and WHO is ready to help countries. I think going forward, the vaccine equity could be addressed by increasing local and regional capacity in production. And we have been calling also for intellectual property waiver to help expand the production capacity significantly. So with that, thank you so much to our guests. Thank you for joining us today. And also thank you to the media members for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week. Happy Easter, and also have a nice weekend. Thank you so much.